Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, I know the distinguished majority leader has been delayed by a few minutes, so I'm going to speak on another matter. It's hard really to know where to start. I'm here on the Senate floor to talk about guns. In a world in chaos, we can't forget about the chaos right here at home. Gun violence is killing our children. 19 students, 2 of their teachers, Uvalde 2 weeks ago, 20 children, and 7 others in Newtown, Connecticut, nearly 10 years ago, 12 students and a teacher at Columbine, 23 years ago. And in between, Las Vegas, 58 dead, the Pulse nightclub, 49 dead, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, 17 dead. All victims of gun violence. And this is just a snapshot of the epidemic of gun violence in our country. I look back at my 48 years here in the Senate and I say, when will we say enough? Enough. We hadn't finished honoring and celebrating the lives of the 10 victims in Buffalo before news broke of the tragedy unfolding in Uvalde. 19 children, 2 teachers, massacred in their school, where they learn and work, where they should be safe to just be children. And this weekend, at least a dozen people were killed, 60 more injured in shooting incidents across our country. When is it enough? After Sandy Hook, well over a decade after Columbine shook the nation, the conscience of the country was stirred. Now, we said, now we must look at our gun laws. Now we must think about what simply makes sense and what does not. The Judiciary Committee acted. I was proud to lead that, but the Senate did not. There were bipartisan proposals then, proposals that I believe could muster bipartisan support again today. Support that acknowledges that there is a problem and acknowledges that we can and must do something about it. The problem is not the Second Amendment. The problem is the view that the Second Amendment is itself absolute. I was in Vermont last week and people would say to me, of course we pray for the victims, but we also pray that Congress will finally stand up and do something. I'm with my fellow Vermonters. I'm a lifelong gun owner. I was on the target shooting team at St. Michael's College in Vermont, my alma mater. Earned my letter in that. Millions of other Americans, like myself, lifelong gun owners, but they're responsible gun owners. And they honor Americans' rights to own firearms. And they choose to own firearms to defend their families or to hunt, but not to commit battlefield-style murders. To most Americans, firearms are valued for defensive purposes, not for murder and mayhem. There are ways that we can use our common sense to keep our communities safe and keep guns out of the hands of people who are dangerous. Let's start with background checks. They are a quick and easy way to help accomplish that goal. There is bipartisan support to require background checks for commercial firearms sales. Now, I think we should go further, but we have to start somewhere. And commercial sales background checks are a good start. Background checks would help to bring common sense back into the discussion. And how about extreme risk laws, also called red flag laws? We should be encouraging more states to enact these laws that would allow loved ones or law enforcement agencies to petition a court for an order that would temporarily prevent an individual in crisis from accessing firearms. People who are in crisis and are a danger to themselves or others, they shouldn't have ready access to firearms, and that's just plain common sense. And then we have the question of straw purchasers. These are people buying guns on behalf of someone else. We've seen this where criminal gangs will send into other states to make straw purchases of weapons. They're then sold back to them. There's no criminal statute specifically prohibiting straw purchasing, so prosecutors have to rely on laws that prohibit making false statements in connection with the purchase of a firearm, a paperwork offense. There is bipartisan agreement that we should strengthen the penalties for straw purchasers to deter this dangerous conduct. That's also just practical, common sense. We should also add common sense and consistency to minimum age requirements to purchase guns. You have to be 21 to buy a handgun. You also have to be 21 to purchase alcohol or, in many places, even cigarettes. But under our federal laws, just 18 to buy a shotgun or rifle, including an automatic rifle like those used on a battlefield, but also used in Buffalo and Uvalde. Battlefield weapons, killing innocent children, innocent Americans. And if we can't find enough common ground to ban military-style assault rifles, and I believe we should at least raise the age at which they can be purchased from 18 to 21. All these proposals are practical common sense. They should be the least that Congress can do to help prevent the next mass shooting. But we have a problem. We have a problem in the United States where the leading cause of childhood death in 2020 was firearms. Think of that, our children and our grandchildren. From the leading cause of death, firearms. We have a problem when we cannot stand up and together to respond to the fears of our children. We have a problem when we cannot push aside the interests of the NRA and the gun industry or the gun owners of America or other pressure groups that tell us that Democrats are coming for your guns. Of course, some of the gun industry will say that because it boosts their sales. Boosts their sales and children die. This is the United States of America. I'm a Democrat. I'm a gun owner. I've been both nearly my entire life. I've also been a prosecutor who prosecuted murder cases and went to death scenes at 3 o'clock in the morning, seeing the people who had been shot. I'm also a parent and a grandparent. I'm a United States Senator. I'm the Dean of the Senate. And I'm a proud Vermonter. In my home state, we have a long tradition dating back to our founding, when we became the 14th state in the Union, of hunting the land. Ownership of our firearms is part of that. But I've also heard from more than 1,000 Vermonters since Uvalde urgently telling me that something must be done. When is it enough? Everywhere Marcel and I went last week in Vermont, We heard, when is enough enough? I've spent months, or actually years, listening to my friends on the Republican side in Congress talk about protecting children. Well, I asked them, who's going to step up now? Who will step up to say enough is enough? If we are to protect our children, we must be the adults with the courage to listen to their fears and to act to alleviate them. We are the adults who must protect our children. And if we do nothing, we are not protecting them. This isn't about politics. This isn't about the moneyed interests of pressure groups lobbying Congress without acknowledging the tragedies in our world today. This isn't even about you or me, Mr. President. This is about the thousands of people who are killed through gun violence every year. And the countless family members forced to sorrowfully move on their absence, saying, why our family? Why our loved one? Why my parents? Why my children? Why my brother or why my sister? Why? In this, the greatest country on earth, with a horrific record of gun violence. This isn't about revoking the Second Amendment, but it's about applying practical, common sense safeguards to help mitigate the violence. Yet again, I ask, as I have since I've been in the Senate, and the American people ask, when is it enough? When is it enough? I join those who pray for the victims, but I especially join those who pray that the Congress will have the courage, Democrats and Republicans alike, to finally do something meaningful. Mr. President, I yield the floor and I suggest the absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin.